All right. Hello, everybody, for take two of the LA Poker Roundup's Halloween edition. For the couple of you that were watching, I hope you're still hanging out. It is October 31st, Halloween, and this is our ninth episode. So I am your host, Ty Dobberton. I guess I'm in orange or something today, and along with our co host, Derek Kwan.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
And he is that bear that from the memes. I forget his name.
Rilakuma?
That guy.
Yeah.
We've got a great show for you tonight. We are going to start out, as always, going over the results from the past week, starting with what happened there in Big Poker Oktober.
And then next, we're gonna go over what's coming up this week with some events happening at the Commerce and the Gardens.
Yeah, and talk about Commerce. We finally have the structure sheets posted for their events, and we are going to start out by going over what's happening with this crazy free roll that they've been talking about. That kickoff free roll, open to everybody. What is up with that?
That's gonna be crazy. On our strategy corner, we're gonna talk about fear in poker tournaments. What are players most afraid of that's holding them back?
Yeah, it's very Halloweeny, talking about scary stuff. And then, let's go over another little rules corner. I think this might be my favorite thing. If you've ever sat at the table with me, I'm kind of a rules nerd. So we're gonna talk about what is your right to see, or if someone asks you to see your hand at showdown, and what are the situations there? Because I know that's a real pet peeve for a lot of people. So who's right? Let's talk about that. And then, of course, we'll finish up with our roundup as always. All right. Now, let's get started. We will start, as always. Let's talk about who has been winning. So, at the bike last week, the last Tuesday, when we were doing our show, they were running a 20,000K guarantee. They were doing 250 buy-in, 20K guarantees all week at the bike for Hold'em. And the first one here saw Charles Buford finishing on the top of a 5-way chop. So congratulations to Charles. We see a lot of really good regs in this lineup here. Second place there was Jesse. We had Tony there in third place. Number of other names. They look like they were all misspelled. Our old buddy Donald
Yeah, I
Bolt
don't
down
know.
there in the 10th place.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the spelling on this one, but yeah, Tony, man, Tony makes a lot of final tables. I think, him and I have talked a little bit about strategy here and there. I know he really works on his game, so congrats to him for all his hard work, as it's paying off.
Yeah. I was talking to him. That's the whole reason we're doing this particular rule. Is we were talking at the table the other day about some stuff that's came up, and it's interesting. Just like us, I think a lot of tournament players are like this. He has been a cash player forever. He was telling me. I never really chatted much with Tony, but used to be, and still does a ton of grinding at the cash tables and trying to adjust to this crazy tournament game we're playing now. So it's good to see that. And yeah, and good old Jesse here. Jesse told me that he has won the satellite seat for the WPT the last 2 years down there at the Gardens. He's hoping to make it a
Wow.
third this time. So we'll be talking
Wow.
about that tournament too pretty soon.
Yeah, save something for the rest of us.
I know, right? I'm coming for one of those seats this time. I think they got 6 to give away, but still, I don't want one of them locked up before I get there. All right. So last week they also had a bunch of mixed games going on down there at the bike. So they had a Heroes event on Tuesday, and that was chopped heads up between Aaron Hold and Gene, is that Jeannie or Gene? That's Gene Dale David. So congrats to those two.
Congratulations.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't know a lot of the mixed game players yet, so I'm not familiar with these guys, but way to go. Then there was another 20K guarantee. This one was on Wednesday, won by Raul Rosales. If you will notice, his prize money was a 5-way chop. But if you'll notice, this event had exactly 20,000 in the prize pool, which meant there was overlay. So we're going to talk about that. I believe this event actually had a fairly large overlay, but I have a couple of those numbers for us later on. But congrats to Raul. Let's see. Congrats to Norman Luther Cruz, Abram Benlian, and Michael Lee, rounding out the top 4 there.
Yeah, congrats, and also on the extra juice from the casino for the overlay.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to love it. The bike always makes good on their guarantees, and it's nice to see you take advantage. I mean, we can't do it because it's during the week, but it's good to see someone getting that money. They also had an OE event on Wednesday that was let's see, the final. Oh, wow. The final 2 tables chop up the remaining prize pool. Interesting. So that can't be right. It has to be the final 2 people. I feel like there's maybe just a lot of typos going on in these in these things because 7 people is not 2 tables worth. So I'm going to assume it was the top 2 chopping it up, Adam
Yep.
Reimer and Peter Brownstein, whose picture we have right here. They
Yeah, looking
each,
at the payouts, that makes sense. Yep.
yeah, they each took home almost 5K. So congrats to these guys. And you know what? Look at this OE event. It reminds me of a nice, really funny story that I saw on Twitter this week, coming out of, I believe, one of the Poker Go. I believe that is it GG Poker or Poker Go doing a PLO series? I bet
That's
it was from that
PGT.
PGT.
Yeah, PGT. Yeah.
So was this from that tournament? Because I saw at the final 2 players playing it out in an Omaha 8 or better event, and it was pretty funny. Maybe I'll try and find the clip, but these 2 guys, final table, probably this 10K or maybe even bigger buy-in tournament, and final card comes out. They stand up, they shake hands, you're getting ready to pose for the cameras, and it took over a minute before they realized that it was actually a chop pot.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, mixed games are completed.
Yep.
And
So
I actually
even
love this winner's photo because you can pick your card. So you pick 4 aces.
I know, right?
You know
That
what?
would never.
I need to play a 4-card game so I can do that. That's cool.
And you're not gonna. That's impossible to be the winner because you're not getting the low. If there must have been no low, 1 pair of aces. But yeah. So that's crazy. It just shows you, even at the highest levels, people still, it's easy to miss a thing or 2 here. You miss that there's a chop. You miss that the board changed. So that was a pretty funny story. Definitely recommend checking that out. I want to come to that later. So let me see here. All right, so I guess those were the only results that I had handy from those. After that must have come the Mega Millions start. So, yeah, let's see. We will jump right up and start talking about the 200K. So the 200K winner, Steven Sakai, congratulations. He took it, and I believe there was no chopping. There was no chopping. This event played all the way out, and this event had a really great structure. Unfortunately, neither of us made day 2, but I was in the room. We were playing other events, and I kept my eye on the board. And all throughout day 2, all the way going into the final table, I noticed it seemed like the average chip stack, all through the day was well over 40 big blinds. I think it was hanging out around 60 for a very long time. When they approached final 2 tables, were in the 40s, and when they hit the final table, I think the average stack was still well over 35, 40 big. So
that's fantastic play.
Absolutely.
Perfect structure for 1K. It's probably a function of the fact that there probably weren't as many players that came out, but it's still really good structure.
Yeah. So Steven took home 62,795 for first place, and another bike reg big time Eddie Liu got second. So congrats to Eddie.
Nice.
The hand they describe here is pretty brutal. Eddie got busted out with pocket kings against pocket 8s and just 8 right on the was it on the flop? Yep, 8 right on the flop. So it's a tough way to go out.
This whole final table had a lot of really good players on it. So nice to see. Nice to see the good ones made it to the final table and had a big battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me pop up the other final table finishers here so that we can give them their dues. I believe it will. Yeah. So here we go. 8th place, let's go do the whole final table. So 9th place, Paul Yee. He got a nice $5,000 for his efforts. 8th place, Benjamin Moon.
Another good rep.
Yep. He's rocking the hoodie. 7th place, Luis Reynoso.
Congrats, Luis.
Yep. 6th place, Claude Cordrew.
I never played with Claude before, but he was at my day 1 table, and he was really giving me a lot of trouble being 2 to my left. So not surprised to see him make it because he was playing really, really well.
Nice. 5th place, they didn't put the picture up. It's Gabriel Hababa. Apparently he is a reg. They didn't have his picture. Let me see if I can quick grab it, give him his due. Final table counts. So 5th place was, here we go, Gabriel.
Oh yeah.
Congrats, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's definitely plays everything. So way to go. And then 5th place, 3rd place was, sorry about that, guys. And then here we go. So 4th place, was Andrew.
Sorry.
Andrew Ostapchenko, I believe, was 4th place. I read he lost a big flip, Ace King versus Queens to Steven. and I think that left him crippled, and then he was out right after that. So then third place was Tony Denovi,
Yeah, Tony.
one
Everyone
of
knows
our
Tony.
everyone loves Tony, one of our resident bracelet holders here that plays in all the events around here. So
Very, very
definitely
good player.
stacked final table. Very good players all around. Very tough
Yeah.
final table indeed, and so this 1K really let the play and the structure really brought out some of the best we got around here. Um, so unfortunately for you, unfortunately for I, we did not make it. I fired 2 bullets. How many bullets did you fire?
I fired 3 bullets.
3 bullets. All right. Well, I guess I win that battle with you.
You did.
Um,
Congratulations.
well, it doesn't really feel that great. I feel like it means I didn't try as hard enough. I got 1 bullet in each day. Made it a little past the end of reg. I think I made it till about 9:30 both days, and then yeah, I felt like I just didn't really get anything going in this event, which was just too bad. I felt really like kind of handicapped. Well, you know what? Day one just felt like a real madhouse. Day one, the cards that people were playing and hitting, wow, it felt like a real minefield. But day two, it just didn't really feel like I could get anything going. How would you feel? How did your tables run?
On day one, I did have a pretty tough table overall. Like a lot of solid players. Phil Locke ended up sitting to my left, probably like halfway through the day.
Really, I didn't know he came.
And yeah, and you know what? I think I was running fine, and then sort of the second half of the day, I just started getting really card dead. So I was just sort of coasting along until I lost this just ridiculous huge pot towards the end of day one. Yeah, I was like just way ahead. Somebody went runner for a straight to take a big pot off of me, and that would left me with like 5 big blinds. Ended up busting about an orbit later, so that was really frustrating. Because it is like these 1Ks like we talked about last time, like you said, like the day one when you say it's a minefield, that means it's like a lot of players who are just kind of clicking buttons and doing random stuff. So like we said before, like don't be afraid to satellite into these tournaments because you're gonna get players that you're gonna be surprised that they're not really that great at poker. But then when you get into the day twos and late into day one, that's usually when the strongest survive and you're going to get tougher players. But that is when you have a good learning opportunity, and you might surprise yourself how good you play, when you get to just stand up against these players, especially if you've been playing with them all day. So yeah, definitely give more shots to these 1Ks as they come along.
Yeah, it was kind of a tale of two days for me. The day one, my table had a lot of kind of still wild play, crazy stuff. I lost a big pot in day one that was just completely mind boggling to me. Guy calls a big 3-bet pre-flop. I go all in on the flop with my overpair here. I got queens. The board's 9 high, rainbow. And I get called by, he calls for all of his chips with king 10, no straight draw, no nothing, and we go runner flush. So it's the same kind of stuff. It was crazy. However,
Yeah,
day
that's
two,
nuts.
day two, you and I were at the same table for the entire
Yep.
day that we were in there, and wow, our table seemed pretty tough for a lot of different moments.
Yeah,
We
yeah, we
had
had a pretty solid player.
yeah, a
So
lot of solid players. There was you, there was me, there was Mike Liang. There were, I think, at any given time, I definitely recognized and thought at least 6 of the
yeah,
people at the table were very solid, and there's some rotation going on throughout the day, but.
I think Mike Liang appreciated me firing a whole bunch of bullets at him when he had quads.
Yeah,
I was kept firing street after street after street, and he just let me hang myself. But luckily, I gave up on the river and just let him have it.
yeah. Actually, I must have been his lucky charm because he was running good right up until the moment I left. My last hand, I had a good chance. I was in a really good spot to win, to get myself a nice big stack there on my last hand, and was not able to bink that one. Had the seems unusual, but we had ourselves a 4-way all-in pre-flop in one of these things, right? So once
Oh, I
again,
remember
plenty
that
of
hand.
action.
That was nuts. What a money
Plenty of
hand. And yeah,
action.
he won a huge pot off that one. Yeah.
Yep. So I had a chance if I had what was it? I had Ace King versus Ace Queen, Jacks, and Queens. So it was
Yeah.
Queens in the lead, followed by me and the other guys. And
Yeah, I think
the
that ace
Queens
queen
held.
hand probably shouldn't have gotten in there after all that action, but
Well,
I guess he was a little bit short.
I think the Ace Queen. I don't think there's anything the Ace Queen could have done. He was under the gun. He was short. The Jacks, I feel like, didn't need to get in there. That was the
Mm.
one that I wasn't so sure about. He was the last one in and the second biggest stack. So I'm not sure about that one. The
Yeah.
Queens though, they were first action. They were short. They were going to be under the gun or in the big blind the next hand. That felt a little bit
Mm.
more inevitable, right?
Mm.
But yeah, so that pot, that hurt.
Yeah, that was a big pot.
That hurt. So One thing though, I was surprised. It had a decent showing. They had, I believe, 200 and well, they had 260 something people, right? 267 entries. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's yeah.
it's not bad. It's not bad, but the numbers on Friday and Saturday were actually much lower than I anticipated.
Yeah, that's what I thought they would be much bigger. I was thinking like 80 people for Friday, and it was only like what 50ish or something.
50, 49 or 51 or something.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
and
I
then
think on Saturday I was expecting 100, and then they got around 80 on that day.
yeah, I mean, I would have easily thought they would clear both those numbers on those days,
Hmm.
and I had in my head more like what the Gardens 1K ran, and those days they only had the 2 day ones, and they had 140 people, 240 people, so I was thinking much closer to those numbers, so I kind of feel like the only thing I can think of is that the mini Mega Millions flights, which were also running Friday and Saturday, were kind of cutting into the numbers. What do you think about that?
You know what? I didn't think that there would be that much overlap that anybody who was gonna play the 1K would clearly just play the 1K instead of the Mega. But that does seem to be the only explanation because I don't know why the numbers. I mean, they still did. I mean, they still did fine, right? They beat their
Yeah, they
guarantee
did
by a
fine.
lot, but it just I think I was expecting this one to get over 300K, so
Yeah,
a
I
little
was
surprising.
too. And I really do think it mattered. Now, because the numbers for the mini mega flights those days, they were decent numbers. Those first
Yeah,
flights had 200 people in them. They had 150, 150, 80 people in them, right? They had a lot of entries. So even if 10% of those people or 10% of those buy-ins were to come over, that would have
yeah.
added 20 here, 30 there. Um, there were people I saw playing in the mini mega that hadn't bagged up yet. So, like for instance, our friend Mike Danley, Paul Nguyen, I saw them playing mini mega flights when they hadn't bagged yet in the 1K. So there are definitely people who could do either who were choosing to
Actually,
play the mini mega.
well, you know what though? It's interesting because the day two starts on Friday and Saturday, so there's not more weekend flights. So
Right.
maybe that's why.
Yep.
That's why some people were just like, I'm going to prioritize the $1 million guarantee, right? So
Hmm.
maybe that makes sense. Yeah, maybe
No,
that was a cannibalization because of that.
I absolutely, if someone asked which I can only play one, which one do I play, I would definitely say the mini mega, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's definitely a possibility. So it's interesting they chose to do that. I can understand it. If I'm running the poker room from a business point of view, the more bodies in the seats, the more rake paying entries I get. That's what I want. So if I got, like I said, those flights were still getting hundreds of people in them. So if I can get the extra 400 entries over those three
yeah.
tournaments, that's going to be better for me than the extra 30 people that come
I
in on the
think
other side. But for us, I guess I'm going to have to think a little harder the next time they overlap a 1K with something
yeah.
that's juicy.
I think the 1Ks are really profitable for casinos, and you saw that with the Gardens, the big one they had. I think Commerce is going to get a really good one by running that 1K on that weekend, and it's not overlapping with anything.
Hmm.
So yeah, hopefully the bike won't overlap their 1Ks in the future with
Yeah, it's
something big.
no, it's definitely profitable per person, a lot more profitable per person. One other
Yeah.
thing I did notice that I think they should take into account next time is that the just tweaking the timing on some of the buy-in and the registration closes. Um, I feel like they could have stood to leave registration open on the 1K for another 2 or 3 levels because we were so deep and the structure so good. But if they didn't want to do that, fine. One thing I did notice was that the morning flights of the Mega Millions, they were bagging up just after the registration closed for the 1K. So if someone were to play the morning flight and bag up, they wouldn't have the opportunity to come over and play. And I feel like that was a mistake. Like they were so close, they were literally within 10 minutes, but you would miss it, right? So I feel
I
like
mean,
that's kind of a wasted
yeah,
opportunity.
I would say not to push registration just to end it at a reasonable time, but to allow the morning qualifiers to be able to play. I think that's a good idea, especially if you're going to give them a payout, right? That's going to be like a third or whatever of the buy-in.
Yeah, yeah, and if it's so close, if you just look at the way if you just tweak things a little bit to make it so that they can do that, I think that
Yeah,
those kind of things will help you out a little bit here and there, and
yeah.
it definitely matters. Definitely matters. Um, Another thing I kind of wanted to take a look at, because I kind of want to get your opinion. What is your opinion? And I think somebody did a poll on this. I don't remember who, but I think someone did a poll on this before, on 10% payout as opposed to 12.5% payout as opposed to, like World Series payout, because here are the payouts for that 1K, right? So first prize was 62,795, and that actually came out to about 24% of the entire prize pool. In my mind, that feels too high
Yeah, it's
considering they
pretty
were
high.
paying out 12.5%, right? So if they were paying out
Yeah.
10%, I feel like that could be closer to appropriate.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just too high. And looking at the payouts and seeing what people were getting paid out for making a pretty high finish, I felt like I'm in favor of something that's a little flatter than that, right? And the 10%. So at the last one, to bring the Gardens up again, at theirs, they paid 10% out, and their min cash was $3,000. That was really nice. I felt like that
Yeah.
was really nice and really helps these the 1K players kind of stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the flatter the structure, the more that you keep people in action, the more people that you pay, the more that you keep people in action. It's also much rec friendlier, right? Because people just love caching. Um, yeah, so this one did feel a little bit top heavy. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was a reason for it. I don't see it off the top of my head though.
Yeah, I've never really paid a ton of attention to the payout structures that all the different places kind of use, but I'm definitely going to pay a little more attention going forwards. And so
Yeah.
far, just we started here with the bike series. So far, it feels like the bike series are very top heavy overall, which it could be kind of their characteristic. But honestly, I feel like 20%, 21% at most is still fine. That would have still been uh 51, 52,000 for first. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's a
you
good
could
payout.
spread that 10K out a little bit. That seems
And I think
okay.
that's what people expect, right? They would expect around like 50K for 200, whatever, 50K. So,
Yeah. So that's just kind of my thoughts there. And then you know, starting the Mega Millions even before they added the day two on Saturday, which we definitely appreciated. And I know they must have, because they would have been really tight hitting that guarantee if they hadn't.
yeah.
Even without that, they were starting their Mega Millions flights in the morning on that Friday, so they already had planned a full overlap, which just seems a little strange. Maybe start your Mega Million flight, just wait until the afternoon to start it, right? But
Yeah.
uh, it's interesting. So they would have very very tight on that guarantee. Um, and as we kind of alluded to during the results, another thing that was interesting this week is that, or this last week, is that those 20K guarantees they ran during the week, I believe 3 of the 4 of them had overlay. So that's weird. Is that normal? I don't think that's normal.
Yeah, I don't think that the bike typically gets many overlays at all. And I don't, maybe, hopefully, if the bike hasn't learned the lesson up to this point, and hopefully they'll learn it after this event, is that a lot of people work. They're not going to be able to play during the week, because I feel like so much of their schedule almost like somehow is like oddly assuming that people are going to come out and play like on Thursdays and Fridays and are okay with like a day two on a Wednesday or something. Yeah, just land your stuff on weekends. And you know what? If you don't guarantee the stuff during the week, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their typical weekday tournament over or guarantee was. I don't know if 20K was bigger than it usually is, or if 250 was bigger than it usually was. But yeah, there was about a 7K overlay, about a 3K overlay. They made it one of the days, and then I think about maybe a $1,200 overlay.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's just interesting. I guess that means that 20K guarantee weekday afternoon or morning tournaments aren't really a sustainable kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
and the only other thing I could think of that could have had any influence, and probably didn't, was last week. The 150K guarantee they ran on Saturday the previous week was really big. It was much bigger than the one they ran the week before. So maybe people were kind of fatigued from playing that, or from throwing a lot of bullets into that. I don't know.
I personally feel exhausted. So that could be a factor. I mean, there's just been a lot of poker going on since
Hmm.
the World Series. It's just been
Yeah.
nonstop, honestly.
Yeah. So this kind of makes me feel like the LA Poker Open, the Commerce schedule coming up might be even smarter than it looks, because they have those $150 tournaments going on at the 11 a.m. time period,
Yeah,
and they don't have any overlay, or I mean, they don't have any guarantee on them as far as I remember. And they
yeah,
also have that, but they added that player of the series to them to try and kick in a little incentive to get people to
yeah,
play. So
yeah.
I feel like that's really smart. All right. So, just kind of interesting interesting things to note. I really do hope that the bike doesn't have to keep eating overlays. I hope they
Yeah,
make
it's
the
not
right
good.
adjustments, and I'm really we're expecting and hoping this Mega Millions to really blow things out, right? So the other thing that happened this weekend while we were all at the bike playing in these events was Kevin Kevin over at the Gardens dropped I think a huge announcement, right? Bam, they dropped the Gardens Tournament's Winter Series announcement, and it's a very short series. And it's interesting what the Gardens is kind of doing, trying to just insert themselves anytime there's a little bit of a downtime in the LA schedule, right? And you know what? This is almost maybe why you're starting to feel a little exhausted. We used to get a week off every now and then, but now Kevin's like, heck no, Derek, you cannot take the
It's
time
getting
off.
out
I'm
there.
putting something in there.
I mean, throwing in a 1100, 500 gig guarantee, like I can't miss that, right?
Yeah,
So,
500K guarantee, first week of the year. I
yeah,
am
just can't
excited. This is
can't miss that.
just that's just Christmas. That is the Christmas present right there.
Yeah,
Um, we take a look at the rest of the schedule. It's not super exciting, but there are events going on. It's nice. This New Year's Day, 100K guarantee. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
that's nice.
Yep, it's a $500 buy-in, but other than being slightly more expensive than the ones that the bike ran on Saturdays, it is basically the same thing. It looks like just it's a New Year's Day tournament, so that's cool. There's a mystery bounty on Saturday, the day before New Year's Eve, so not to interfere with anyone's plans. So if you like mystery bounties, they're having a 100K mystery bounty event there. Um, that
I think this is a pretty smart schedule. Just like just squeezing in between the holidays. There's a bunch of people just probably sitting around, kind of not working and taking a vacation. So it's a good
yeah,
time.
yeah, no, for sure. I'm definitely going to be down there for this mystery bounty and for this probably for this deep stack and uh absolutely can't wait for this 500K. Those are the ones that I'm really highlighting. But for the mix, they even have something in there for the mixed game players, right? They have a heroes, a horse
Yeah,
tournament. They've got a PLO tournament. Honestly, if I'm not busy, I might go down there for some of these mixed game ones on the off days because
yeah,
uh,
kind of fun.
yeah, I want more opportunities to play some of these mixed game tournaments. So why not? There's nothing else that I'm gonna be missing. This is a great time, and it looks
Yeah,
like right on at the start of the schedule they have some satellites. It says 10 series packages. I don't believe they have any more details on that. If they did, it'd be on the website, so check that out. But I have to think that the series packages will get you into the main event. I'm not sure what else, but I have to think it's going to be like main event seed and a 500 seed or something like that. So
yeah,
that'll be fun. That'll be a good thing to look for too.
yeah. This is really good.
Yeah. So I mean, come on, kudos to those guys over there, the Gardens. They've got all sorts of great things. I wish I lived further south. They really do seem to be doing a lot to try and
Yeah,
keep pulling in more and more of that tournament action of the area and really become a great place for tournaments. I know all the guys that play down there, they're getting pretty loyal. They're pretty loyal to the
yeah.
to playing down there. So, kudos to
Yeah,
what
I
they're
mean, it's
doing.
such a pretty casino. If there's one thing that you can change is to let people eat at a table, that would be nice. So I don't have to put my food over it and like run over to eat it like some sort of animal.
That is true. That is true. Ever since COVID, they said no eating at the table
It
and they have
doesn't make
not
any
budged.
sense anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't budged now, so that is absolutely true. All right. So let's talk about the big events coming up this week, right? So this week at the bike is all about the mini Mega Millions, of course. They have been running flights all week. They will continue to run flights straight through Thursday. And then day two is on Friday, and day two is also on Saturday. And then that officially ends the Big Poker October series, but of course they'll have their day three on Sunday if necessary, and it probably will be, right? And then there's also what's going on at the LA Poker Open. Commerce starts on Friday. So before we move over to the LA Poker Open schedule, let's start talking a little bit about the Mini Mega Millions. So, Mini Mega Millions so far through day. So the article and the numbers that they have up is only through yesterday. So through the first 4 days of qualifying, and that is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They so far have 219 bags, which, and this is kind of crazy. This guy right here, two of these guys, at least 4 bags already.
What the
That's
heck?
that's a bag every day, or more, as I know at least one person who bagged twice in one day. So
And bagging these events are kind of hard too, because it's just sometimes it's just
seriously,
like really crazy place. So wow.
Yeah, I think I fired 2 or 3 bullets the other day. I didn't bag. So, Jonathan Alexander, what is your secret? You've got 4 bags already. And
Yeah.
Igor Efimov, we talked about him, I think, the other day. He's got 4 bags already. Now, his bags are
Really?
kind of on the small side, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get another bag or two. Um, Up here, it looks like Jonathan's top bag is 396, so he may or may not be done. But, like, look at that. This Dana Kellstrom has 3 bags. Zen Lee has 3 bags. Jeremy Mintz here, he's got 3 bags. So, I mean, look at this. Some of these guys, you can kind of tell they're just survivors. Oh, Jorge Pinata. You can tell they're survivors because they have a lot of bags here. Richard Stavert has 4 bags as well. That's 3 people with 4 bags. That's
What's the double bag bonus again?
so the double bag bonus. When you add all of the money they give you up is 1,600. Um,
1,600.
yeah, so you get 350 for bagging, and then
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
double bag, they give you an additional 1250.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're bagging 4 times, you're gonna make more than the you're probably gonna make more than the top 20 money.
Yeah, you're
I don't
making
know.
good money. So this is
Yeah.
and this mini mega really illustrates what we were talking about before, where these uh these Mega Millions tournaments, these quantum tournaments, are so if you can't play all of the day one flights, you really only get to play half the tournament because it's really more of like a festival, and the guarantee is spread out
Yeah.
over this whole festival where they're paying money out
Yeah.
every day. So far through first 4 days with 3 days remaining, including today. So today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they still have flights. So through those first 4 days, here's how the numbers roughly break out. So those 219 people getting through, the total prize pool should be just shy of 350,000, somewhere around 345,000 right now. And then they have paid out 76,650 to the day one baggers. That's the $350 extra there. And then for the double bags, they've paid out an additional $36,250. So the prize pool going forward to day two so far is around 232,000 roughly. So about 230,000 going forward through those first 4 days. But their overall progress towards the guarantee is 345,000 about. So
Yeah. That's pretty high. 'Cause like 30% sounds high. I'm pretty sure that will level out as more flights take place and probably get back down to about 20%. But
yeah,
that's yeah.
I am going to be really interested to see how that works out because with the tournament like this, I could see it going one of two ways, right? It starts to level out, more people come in and bag. The people who have bagged a few times are like, all right, I'm good, right?
Mm.
And they stop playing and stop bagging. The other possibility though is uh, there are there were 29 people, or there were 29 double bags here, right? And there are a lot of people who double or triple bagged. So say there's 21 people, 20 people who have double bagged. If those are the guys who get to play every flight or every day, then say the flights today and tomorrow, and I didn't look at the numbers. Obviously, they're probably smaller today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, weekdays, right? So if the flights are a little smaller there, um, let's say the $200 flight has 50 people in it. And that might be high because that tends to get smaller numbers. I mean, let's say it gets 50 or 45 people in it, and 20 of them are people who've already double bagged. That means that
Yeah.
there's 50% chance, almost like there's a 40% chance that the any particular bagger already has a bag. So that's just straight up more money out of the prize pool. So I kind of see it two ways. The more people that bag, if they're the kind of people that play every day, that's just making the density of people that have already bagged in these flights higher and higher and higher. So it will be really interesting to see how this breaks out. And you and I were kind of talking before this podcast started that we hadn't really paid too much attention before with the how this numbers break out because the mini Mega Millions has always been during the weekday. So you and I can't play.
Yeah.
It's no good for us working guys. So I'm curious to see how big a percentage the day two direct entries happen to have.
Yeah, I think I mean, with 2 day 2s and the fact that the day two is, what's the buy-in? 1,200?
14, or I think it's
1,400?
1,400.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is relatively low for a million. I think they should probably add, they're probably going to end. Well, I'm surprised that it's only 345 on Tuesday. Oh, it's not counting today's flights though. So,
Right. It's not
um,
counting today. No.
Okay,
So it's
yeah.
the
So
first
I mean, they're
four
probably
of the
yeah.
7 days of bagging that they're doing.
They should be really close to a million, if not over a million, by Thursday night, and then I'm pretty sure they're gonna add another like 200, 300K for just from Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, well, they'll definitely add a lot from Friday and Saturday, I imagine. Now we have some interesting. The
Yeah.
guys in the comments, Paul with the hat and Wayne, they've been up there playing. They've been there grinding these things. So Paul said that there's actually a lot of people multi-tabling these things. Kind of, if you remember what David Ubadov
Yeah.
was doing back during the one mega where he committed to playing every single flight. It looks like some people are just playing multi flights like at the same time. So that's interesting. That kind of helps explain how they're getting triple, quadruple bags, assuming they're
Yeah.
playing able to play them well. And Wayne said there's an interesting thing coming. Wayne, did they ever resolve this? Did you figure out? Did you find out what happened or who that person was? We can ask him. He said that at the bubble for the flight he played the other day, there were so there were they needed to bust. Let's see, 19 left. Two people busted before the last person did. So yeah, so it looks like they were on the bubble and more than one person busted at the same time. So he said that the 17th person that would qualify had no chips at that time. So he's trying to yeah. Did he get paid? And it would have been his double bag. So did he double bag?
Mm.
Did he get? Is he going to get that money? So that's very interesting. Honestly, that could explain one of the little quirks that I saw on this sheet. What day did you say that was? Day one flight yesterday. Yeah. So when I counted it, when I counted it up on the sheet, it says they had 219 people who bagged, and it looked like they only had 218 names on this thing. So
Oh,
maybe that's
to upset that
why.
one. Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Yeah, maybe the guy with no chips, they didn't write him down. They didn't bag him, write anything in there. Um,
Yeah, I mean
interesting.
these quantums actually incentivize you to multi-table if you can like handle it,
Yeah,
just because
if you can
of the
survive, right?
yeah of the big payouts. But again, like for me, so the other nice thing is like it's just an option, right? So you should just definitely be aware of all the equity that's getting pulled out for day one payouts, but also. If you're like me right now and I'm absolutely exhausted, I was thinking maybe going out and firing an evening flight, but I just don't think I can do it. So it's actually nice that I can just roll in on Friday and on Saturday and just buy them for 1,200 and just get right in and have a pretty decent starting stack. And you know what? That's just again the extra tax that I pay for getting into a $1.2 million tournament, even if a whole bunch of money was taken out. Just to get that ease of entry for me.
Yeah, no, I absolutely am doing the same thing. And even if they pull out 200K and pay it out, that still makes it an 800K guarantee, which is phenomenal for a
Right. Yeah.
$1,400 buy-in. And I'm
Yeah.
totally okay with that. It's just
Yeah.
interesting to see, good to know. Um, I want to talk about another quirk. So talking about buying directly into day two, right? Um, if you're doing that and you have to pick one of the 2 days, I have a couple thoughts for you. So one of the interesting quirks about this weekend is that the WPT satellite event is happening
Yeah.
at the Gardens, right?
Cool.
And this is something that was being talked about at the at the tables. This event, a lot of the regulars, I'm qualified. Technically, you're qualified if you want to come down, Derek.
Hmm.
This thing is on starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and a lot, and I mean a lot of the regular tournament grinders are qualified for this thing, and we're going to be down there. I know I'm going to be down there at 11, so that may mean there are a lot fewer of the regs who play every single week or weekend in that Saturday day two flight in that 2B.
Yeah, I hope I can punch it through on Friday so I can go play this. But if I haven't, obviously, I think I'm just gonna have to go,
Yeah.
you know,
Now,
prioritize the million.
now I don't know how many people come from out of town to come play our mini mega, like Vegas types. If a lot of Vegas players come down to play in the mini mega on Friday or on the last day two, so that they don't have to stay here as long, then that flight could be full of say Vegas grinders or pros like
Hmm.
that. But I know a lot of the LA folks will be down here and won't necessarily be able to come up and play in this, and they definitely when they were bagging up on these day ones, they choose the Friday one to put their bag forward on. So
You know what's interesting was 2 Mega Millions ago or 3 Mega Millions ago. It was the one where you and I were at the same table.
mhm.
There were a ton of Vegas pros. There were like
Yeah, there were
ridiculous Vegas pros that I couldn't understand
at our
like
freaking
where they
table.
came. Yeah, but it was just so many of them there. But then I noticed that the next one they weren't there anymore, and I really wonder if they just realized like how much was taken out from day ones, and they were just like, oh, this isn't as good as we thought it was, and then
Yeah, I
decided
don't
to
know.
skip it the next time. I'm glad that they're not all here again, but that was like an invasion. It was
It
crazy.
really, yeah, it felt like it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our table alone, it felt like they just specifically came to our table. I mean, we literally
Yeah.
had like four of them right to your left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, when you left, Chino Reem took your seat.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm not sure. Maybe I would have to check the schedule if there's anything else going on at the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, it probably has a lot to do with all of those kind of
Yeah.
things.
I'm really hoping I can fire a little bit at this Saturday.
Yep.
Maybe take the sting out of my 7 bullets from the 1100
Right.
away.
Use those points, get max value out of that
Yeah.
point, out of those.
Yeah. It's like a
And
sunk cost.
yep. And this is a great satellite. Blinds will start at 25-25. Top six will be getting the satellite, the main event seat plus some money for the hotel and travel. It pays out all the way down to 27th, I believe. So, it's
Nice.
good value. However,
I think the Gardens should, give everyone a Gardens patch to qualify. Just get a little bit of promotion for the casino, right?
yeah, right, and to wear up there for sure.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to be playing this thing probably a little more aggressively for the first couple hours than I might regularly, just so that if things go wrong, I have time to come back and play in the mini mega day 2B.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's just something to think about, when you're picking your days and whatnot. I really do think there will be fewer LA regs on the Saturday flight. I don't know how many out of towners will be there, but something definitely a consideration, right?
Yeah.
Game selection.
Nice options.
All right. So let's talk about the LA Poker Open. So let me here we go. So the LA Poker Open, the most interesting event, talking about a busy weekend, right? The most interesting event is that for this weekend is that kickoff event, that free roll. I mean, it is I'm sorry, this is the wrong sheet. Let me bring up the free roll sheet. It's a $25,000 added free roll, right? And honestly, I can't remember any free rolls where you don't have to do a qualifying thing. You play hours,
I can't
be a
believe you
thing.
just like literally just walk in and play. You just show up and play.
You literally
Crazy.
just walk in and play. And Commerce quoted us when you said, "Is it you just show up and play?" And they said they quoted us. They
I saw that.
they said, "Yes, Derek, just show up and play." Thank
And
you
there's
for the
no
shout out,
big blind.
Commerce.
There's no big blind Andy for the first 8 levels. Is that right?
First 9 levels, it looks like no big blind Annie.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so to do it, you just have to have a card. You show up. It looks like if you register, you start with 5,000 chips. So not a ton. You start with 50 bigs, but hey, it's free. And you have 2 add-ons you can use. And you get 10,000 chips per add-on. So,
You know what's crazy is that this structure doesn't look that bad. It's like 20-minute levels, and you're not really skipping. This is this is a wow. What a just crazy tournament.
yeah,
Like you just
20-minute
show up
levels
and
for 1 through
play.
9.
It's like not a bad structure. Also, without the BB Andy makes it a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
So there's gonna be some play. It's interesting.
Now, once you're out of registration, then it's turbo time. It's time to get out of
Then
there.
it's turbo time.
Yeah, 15 minutes levels after that.
And they're turning on the lights.
But what that means is if you get there and you're like, you're 80th on the alternate list, it's not that bad because the structure is decent. People will be punting it off to get in there. And if you were to treat this as not a free roll but a $200 tournament, you start with 25,000 chips with this structure. I mean, there's a lot of dailies
right away.
Yep, you can. So one thing, I think this is how it works based on what I'm reading. It looks like you can use your add-ons as like in-place rebuys as long as you do not miss a hand. So you can't take any hands off. If you bust, you can't miss a hand. But I believe the way I'm reading this, and ask when you get there, the way I'm reading it is if you bust and you're still in your seat, you just quick pull out your 100, you get your chips before the hand's dealt, and you get your next 10K. That's what I'm reading.
But then if you can't do that, you're out.
Right, that's why I said ask when you get there. But that's the way. Oh, if you somehow can't get it, yeah. But that's the way I read
sure.
this.
Make sure you got $200 in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just buy it all right away. I think for me, I would just want to have max fun. I think I would just use this 3 separate bullets and just kind of jam super light and super aggressive. Just gamble. But to each his own. This is definitely if you're free Friday at 3 o'clock. 3 to 6:30, is that 6:15. Try and
Oh,
get over there.
that's this Friday, huh?
Yeah, that's this Friday. So if you bust the mini mega early, head on over to Commerce. Why not? It's free.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting
Yeah.
because it is on the day two.
Mm-hmm.
So then, not everyone has made the day two, and by 3 p.m., some people will have busted. So yeah, this could be a big one.
Yep. That's what I think I plan to do. If I bust the day one uncharacteristically early, I'm gonna head over there. You know.
Yeah, if you go over there, stream it a little bit, DJ. Maybe you can stream it, or just do something. Just show some video of all the people kind of showing up. So I'd love to see
I
how
know,
many
just
people
the
actually show up for
madhouse.
this
I'll
thing.
definitely get a
Yeah,
video and a story if I go over there. But I'm hoping
yeah,
I don't go there. Just like you, I am hoping that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we
The
just get
mega.
through on day one. And yep. And so another thing I wanted to remind everyone and just make sure you're aware: this LA Poker Open is in the ballroom. It is in the ballroom. That is,
So
I know
excited.
it's like the number one thing people hate is that playing down there in the galley down there next to the cash players where it's all noisy. It's in the ballroom.
It's so
Get on
nice.
up
Just
there.
so spacious and just high ceilings and just yeah, nice lighting. Just
Yep.
really
Yep.
great experience up
And
there.
DJ's trying to get the games on TVs for folks and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so other events that they are going to be having this weekend, aside from the free roll, on Saturday. So during the Mega Millions Day 2B, if you didn't qualify or you're not gonna pony up for the direct buy, they have just no limit hold'em and a no limit hold'em bounty tournament. It looks like those don't have any guarantees. So honestly, that Saturday is not a particularly exciting day over there.
That's smart. So basically, if you're not in the mega, you didn't qualify for the WPT. At least you got something going on, which is nice.
Right, right. So you just, kind of casually tournaments. But then once the October series is over, Sunday, they will be having this 50K guarantee, $400 buy-in, no limit hold'em tournament on Sunday. So that's pretty
Mm.
nice. 50K is a very good guarantee. That's, in my mind, that's kind of the real kickoff for the LA Poker Open.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm gonna miss that because I'll be playing day three.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be
I'm gonna be
upsetting.
winning
It's gonna be very upsetting.
winning day three.
Right, right, right. But if we wrap it up early, maybe we can just chop and go over there and still make registration.
Just chop it so we can get
Yeah, just so we can play the
represent
other
the
the other
50K.
one,
Yeah.
right? Don't miss out on value. So here's the structure for that. And it's also interesting to note that same day there is a 50K guarantee happening over at Hollywood Park, Sunday 11/5. Another 50K Sunday special at Hollywood Park, $360 buy-in, and that starts at 10 a.m.
No, Holly Park will technically not exist for me until I actually go there. It's not like a real casino until
It's not a real thing.
I go there
Fake news.
and see it in person.
So Hollywood Park starts at 10 a.m. Commerce's starts at 11. You could start at Hollywood Park, bust out, go over to Commerce, start a little, get a level
Those
back.
days are
could do
over
it.
for me. I'm just gonna get the extra couple hours of sleep or maybe grab some breakfast or hang out with my wife and pets.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Yeah. We've seen the cat. How did the cats coexist with the bird? I just found out Derek has a pet bird. Is it a parakeet? What was that?
They can't the bird can't be out when the cat's here. We had a cat before that was okay with the bird, but this kitten is a little bit too high prey drive, so can't be in the same room at the same time, unfortunately.
Yeah. You've ever seen that kind of brain teaser with the sheep, the wolf, and the cabbage or whatever, and the river? That's the vibe.
Oh
I'm getting.
yeah.
That's the vibe I'm getting from your house.
It is. There is a little bit of a brain teaser every time I come in here about what's going on.
Yep. So Hollywood Park does have their November schedule out on their website. So head on over there, hit the button. You can check out what is going on there this month. But this Sunday, there's 250Ks happening around town. So we have lots of options for that other buy-in if you're not in day 3 of the mini mega like Derek and I will be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good options. I joke about Hollywood Park just because I've never been there, but yeah, it looks like some really, really good tournaments for you to go play if you're around.
Yeah. All right. But that brings us to our strat chat of the week. Let's
Fear
talk
in
about
poker
fear.
tournaments.
Yeah.
So Ty, what do you think about this? What do you think people are most afraid of?
Yeah. What is scary? What are people most afraid of? What have I? So there's several ways to approach this, right? I think that the number one thing. So people have been kind of coming up and chatting with me, and some of my friends trying to break through, get a little more consistent, get some more consistent scores, right? I think that there's a lot of things. There's there's two ways to look at the question in my mind. Is what are you afraid of just when you're playing your hands, when you're playing poker, and what are you afraid of in tournaments in general, right? So I think a lot of people I know are kind of that are struggling are kind of on the tighter side and they have trouble accumulating chips. And I think that the fear that I would point out to them is simply the fear of basically the fear of losing the hand, right? When they have a good hand, they bet too much to protect it, to protect their hand, to
Mm,
blow people out of the
that's a
pot, right?
big one. A
When
lot of
they
inexperienced players do that. They just
yeah,
pile mud chips and don't do that.
when they're not sure if they have the best hand 100%, they're afraid to bet to try because they're afraid they could be beat, right? And I think that fear is something that will really help those players start to learn how to accumulate more chips and get some more piles, right? So I think the
Yeah,
fear, I call it the fear of losing this pot, right? Of losing this hand.
yeah,
Like I have a good hand, the fear of losing this particular hand. I think that's something that you really need to get over, or find a way to play through, right? Especially in those middle and early stages of the tournament. So that one I think is a big one. So for
yeah.
me, obviously we've all had that fear. We all played that way, like, oh, I've got a good hand. Just why don't I just bet all the money? I'm afraid that flush card's gonna come. I'm afraid that straight card's gonna come. Uh, so I think the best way to get through that, honestly, is to get more comfortable with playing with smaller bet sizes. And I know that sounds weird, and it's a very difficult thing to do. I think playing smaller stakes cash or like maybe practicing online is a good way to kind of like get some reps in with that. But like if you play smaller bets, if you force yourself to not just like basically say you're never allowed to overbet jam when you have like top or overpair, just make yourself play smaller pots. Like it's probably not optimal, but you'll get more comfortable playing in pots that go more streets, that have more bets going into it, that have more,
Hmm.
like, and so like this isn't like a strategy. It's more of a exposure therapy, right? Because a lot of these people, I never see them playing more than two streets of poker when they have a good hand, right? Or even when they have a vulnerable hand, they're still not really playing because it's just check, 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 right? So,
Yeah, and how you should really be thinking about it actually is I see people 5x pre with aces, and
mm-hmm,
then they flip over their hand afterwards, just like, oh, number one, this seems like they're upset that people didn't call them. We're just like, what did you think we were gonna do? But
mm-hmm,
then also sometimes they're just like, yeah, I don't want to play this hand post flop. I'm like, what are you talking about, right?
yeah,
When you have a premium hand, that's when you want to play post flop, because your hand is gonna hold up more often than not against worst hands. Like that's where almost all the money in poker comes from, is playing better hands than your opponents pre flop. Sometimes you get bad beat, and that kind of happens, right? So yeah, like just think about it in those terms that you shouldn't be blowing people out of pots when you have really, really good hands. That's like the complete opposite of what you should be doing.
yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of dovetails into the other thing, right? Obviously, in a tournament, everyone is afraid of busting, right? So the if you are able to start playing hands in a way where you're thinking, well, I might lose, but this also should get me the most chips when I win. The other side of that is, of course, when you lose more chips, right? But like you said, with those hands that we're doing that with, we should win most of the time, right?
Hmm.
So that is if the other fear of busting, right, which we all have. You have to be afraid of busting, or you're not playing. You're playing irresponsibly, right? But if you can recognize that and find out when it's a rational fear to have, that can help you try and uh,
Yeah.
stop thinking about because it's the two sides of the same coin, right? Um, I need to win the most chips as possible while losing as few chips as possible, right? And you just have to recognize, like you said, this hand is going to win almost all the time. And
Right.
with what I know, with my studying, with my knowledge of this player and this board texture,
Yeah.
I'm still going to win most of the time.
Right.
So,
And the thing is, if you raise with aces, you get called by four people, and the flop comes up like seven, eight, nine, all spades. You have no spade, and you lose with aces. It's not a huge deal. It's one out of a million hands you're gonna play in your life.
right.
It's not a big deal to let that one go. Most of the time, when you go heads up, you're just gonna take somebody's all of their chips with aces. So that's. But this is a really good question, Ty. Because I mean, I also feel like some other things that people are afraid of too is um I almost feel like people are just so afraid of what people think about them. That's a big one, and I think it's like an ego kind of thing. And I see this a lot with people when they try to justify something they did on the river because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want people to like think badly of them. I'm not sure if I ever cared about explaining anything to anyone. Right? I'm always like studying, experimenting, doing different things. Sometimes I'm going to do something that looks completely stupid, and maybe it was completely stupid, but I don't care, right? Because it's like it's something that I'm going to like process and learn from. I tried it, so don't sweat what other people think about you. Just work on your game, talk with people who you respect, right? Watch and observe people that you respect. There are a lot of coaching sites out there now that you can go and get some coaching on. And sometimes, especially when you're playing lower limit inexperienced players, they see what is actually good play as bad play. Like they can't understand it. Right. So there's no reason to explain yourself to people. So don't be afraid of just like the whole ego part of the game.
Absolutely. And I have um this may not be accurate, but I've from the people I've talked with and people when I talk hands with people, this fear or this kind of influence tends to come up more with newer players and with women that I know that play.
Hmm.
And honestly, even listening to the Only Friends podcast the other day, I know they have segment now where they talk with one of the kind of the mid stakes, lower stakes grinders in their group about a hand or a session where they were just feeling like things weren't going well. And when they spoke with Melissa, she kind of brought this exact thing up as well. Like, hey, she made some bad plays, and they're like, why? Well, for one thing, I didn't want everyone to be mad at me. I didn't want everyone to hate me. I didn't want everyone to think about this or that the way I was playing. And some of the other people who sometimes talk hands with me, I've gotten that same thing from newer players and more frequently from the women players.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely think that's a really important thing to work on is to just, you
Yeah.
know, don't like you said, don't take just because they're sitting at the table. Don't value their opinions the same way you would value a respected friend that
Yeah.
that is good at this game or that has a good way of thinking about it, right? And don't worry about don't let what other people think influence your play right now
Yeah.
because they're trying to win your money,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
They're
You
trying to
you
win your
can talk to
money.
good players off the table about your strategy. On the table, everyone's your enemy. I don't care. Like Ty, you're at the table with me. We're good buddies, but you're my enemy at the table, right? I don't.
Absolutely,
And there's
absolutely. I
another
jammed
thing
on you the
too.
other day. I'm pretty sure.
I know. Yeah. What did you have? I had ace queen that hand. I wasn't really
I don't
sure. I
remember
should
the
have called
board,
you.
but I had a good hand. I forgot what the
I think you had like a pair or something.
I
Anyways.
I had a good hand. I remember I wasn't bluffing you, so I don't remember what it
Yeah.
was though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The other thing too, and this is a big one for me, and I think other people can really benefit from this, is that I used to be not comfortable three betting, and I was extremely uncomfortable three betting out of the blinds. I remember DGAF back in the day used to like we used to talk about it too when we used to play cash games together. He hated like three betting out of the blinds. He almost never did it. It completely changed my game when I became comfortable with it. Like you don't want to go too far and go too spewy, but I think a lot of people are just afraid that they're going to three bet a hand like ace queen or pocket tens, and then somebody's going to four bet them and blow them off their hand. Like, why did I just do that? Why didn't I just call? Don't be afraid because you get so much like equity and you win so many pots from three betting people and just stabbing. And especially like I'm going to tell you, like, this actually combines what you said earlier about small betting. I will three bet somebody, 4x out of the small blind after they raise in late position, and then I'll bet 10% pot on almost like range sometimes, right? Depending on how the
yeah.
board runs out. And you're going to take it down a significant amount of the time because the
Hmm.
thing is, people know that I'm going to bet 10% pot with aces and a set and a bluff, and it's really hard to put you on a hand, right? So this is why it's important for you to mix up your game, mix up your strategy, but also get comfortable with some of these things that you're just not comfortable with, because that's the only way you're going to get good at poker. And you know what? Practice and experiment those things at the lower stakes, and then move up and try them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't tell you how powerful it feels when you are the three or the four better, and then the flop comes out, ace six four or something, and then you just bet that 10%, and you just know they have to turn their hand face up, and they're basically gonna just fold to
Yeah.
you, and you just have all the power, and then you know that they know there's nothing they can do about it, and
Yeah.
it just feels like you unlocked a superpower or something. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then some sicko is gonna sometimes just raise your flop bet, and then you might just decide to just call and see what they do, right? And that's just the fun part about poker is just keep leveling each other and playing,
Yeah.
but you have to get comfortable with some things you're not comfortable with.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
and it's just like building your toolbox, right? So even if you get comfortable with it and you decide not to use it because the games you're playing in aren't appropriate for it, that's fine. But at least you know how to do it.
Yep. Yeah. No, and it's funny you say, being afraid of raising ace queen like that because that exact thing, Mike blew me off that exact hand. I believe you were at the table still. One of the times he had something amazing in the big blind. One of the many, many times he had a great hand in the big blind. He and he three bet my open over another couple calls. I four bet him. I like two x'd his raise, and he just jammed on me. That's exactly what I had. I had ace queen, and I I'm confident he had me beat. I don't feel bad about folding at all. But the nice thing was later, the other guy who limped or who called behind me said I had ace queen too. So I feel really
You're
great.
on dead, basically,
I
right?
feel
Yeah.
really great
Yeah.
that I definitely saved some chips there because there's no way I was either gonna. I was not hitting, and if I did hit, he must have had ace king. He must have had jacks king. Like there's if I had ace queen and that guy had ace queen, I am dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
And a good reference for a lot of listeners too is if you like hear a play like that where you hear Ty, four bet ace queen and then fold it to a five bet, and you think that's kind of like a spewy play. I'm going to tell you that right now, good players see that and they just sort of nod their heads like, yeah, that feels pretty standard, right, against a player like Mike Liang. So just note like how good players look at hands and look, how they think about strategy, and just know that they're usually going to be onto something, right? So there's always some stuff for you to learn.
Yeah, and I felt when I blasted off like a third of my stack or whatever to the guy with the bottom set on the so the board was 5 6 7 9, and I check raised them all in with the six. I was at peace with it. But when after
Oh,
the
I
hand came
remember the
out,
hand.
yeah,
I actually wasn't paying attention to the action. I just
till
saw
the
when
end.
the hands got flipped up, and I was like, "Ty, what did you just do?"
But
But you know what? The thing is, I get it, right? Like it's sometimes in spots you just have to, take your hand and turn it into a bluff, right? A medium strength hand and turn it into a bluff if you think you're beat.
yeah, I was at peace with it. But then Mike kind of shook his head. He was like, we kind of did one of these. I'm like, okay, you
Right.
know
Like
what?
like
I
I
feel
just
good
like
now.
he gets why you did it,
Yeah,
and
like
even if I didn't see the action, I probably guessed that that's why you did it. Yeah.
yeah, I already was like fine with it, and but when when Mike's like, I'm like, okay, he gets it. This wasn't
Yeah.
insane. I feel like
Yeah.
I maybe didn't pick the best candidate, but I think I
Yeah.
definitely didn't think it was insane. So
As long as it's a low frequency option, right? It's fine.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and also like he folds everything but a set there. So the fact that like he almost folded a set that just made me feel even better about the
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all great. It's all good. All right. So yeah, I think that the my closing thought is, everybody's afraid of something different, but if you know that you're afraid of something in poker, well, you know what you need to go study. That's my thought. So like, be
Yeah.
thankful
It's
for that.
knowing is half the battle.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to our little procedural error. So this one came up. I was actually talking with Tony Nguyen. We mentioned him earlier when he got third in that tournament last week, and he said that something has been going on that's been bugging him lately. He's been running into the situation where on the river, someone bets, he calls, they show a winning hand, and then they insist that they want to see his hand. Now,
Mm.
in cash games, I believe that the technically that's a rule. If anyone at the end can see any hand, and they will flip it up, right? In most cash games, I think. But in a tournament, he said, "Is that right? That can't be right. That's not the rule." So, what do you think? Do you think that should be the rule? Do you think that isn't the rule? What do you think, Derek?
Absolutely not. I mean, that rule is there just for collusion purposes and collusion purposes only, and people misuse that all the time. Like, you shouldn't ask somebody to see their hand just because you're curious. That's not what the rule is there for, right? The rule is there for collusion purposes only. I don't think that it should. It's not. I don't even consider it a thing. If somebody's like to ask me to show my hand, I would just like throw my hand in the muck and be like, no.
Yeah,
Like
well,
in a
that's what I
tournament,
told
like
him. Like,
no.
did you just chuck it in the muck? I mean, if you just that's what they do in the cash games. If you mix it up in the muck, they can't get it.
The thing is, I'm not even doing anything immoral in a tournament. There's no rule for it, right? And like, there's no reason you should be asking me unless you think that I'm colluding.
Right, right. So for me, when that kind of thing comes up, if the other person made the bet, I'm fine with waiting or telling them to do it. If I'm the one that made the bet and I say you're good and they hesitate or they want to see my hand, I flip it like right
Yep.
away.
Yeah,
I
just
don't
flip it
care.
over. Yep.
If it's
Yeah,
the other way
that's
around,
fine.
what
Yep.
is the rule, right? So I have a copy of the last time they published the full set of the TDA rules. So there could be some small addendums since then, but if you go online, I have not been able to find a published version of the TDA rules more current than this. These are from 2019. And this is the rule that actually applies there. So asking to see a hand, right? So basically, if you were not at the showdown, right? If you don't have a live hand at showdown, you cannot ask to see anyone's hand. That's the part A. So that makes sense.
Makes
So
sense.
if you folded before all the bets went in at the end, can't ask. But if there was a river bet, any caller, and it's funny the way they word it, has an inalienable right to have the last aggressor's hand tabled. So that's what we're used to, right? On request.
Yep.
So if they bet and you called, you
Yep.
see their hand.
Yep.
So provided that the caller tabled or retains his or her card. So as long as you're holding your hand and they bet, you can see it. So don't like
Yep.
don't fold your hand and then try and see it. However, TD's discretion governs all other requests, such as to see the hand of another caller, or if there was no river bet. So basically, it's up to the tournament director. If the person who made the bet and you call, if they want to see your hand, it's at the tournament director's discretion, which that's basically what you said. It's only there for collusion, really. However, if the tournament director doesn't read it that way and just thinks that it should always be right, they could make you show your hand.
Yeah, I hope nobody does that. That's just so silly. It is absolutely so silly. Just the other players just curious what you had. That's just stupid.
Yeah, that is definitely kind of an
Yeah.
awkward thing.
And a good PSA here, since we're on that topic, just like typically um don't throw your hands in the muck until like the pot's kind of like decided and the things are, because I've seen people angle shoot stuff like, oh, like, yeah, they pretend like they have the nuts or something to make you fold, and actually they were
Yeah.
bluffing. Like just stuff like that kind of happens. So especially for newer players, just don't rush your action, right? Just kind of take your time, hold your hand, right? Wait for the action, wait for the cards to get turned up before you go do something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it even happens if it happened to me. I believe the other week in a small pot, I was we were playing some turbo or sit and go or something. The board was actually paired with an ace out there. So when we kind of meekly showed our terrible pair, the other guy just saying, "Oh, hey, what's your kicker?" Right? And yeah, I had like a non-playing kicker, so I just tossed it away. But I didn't realize it was ace kicker out there, right? So I threw away a chop pot. So definitely, just table your hand. Just always just table
Yeah.
your hand. I mean,
I remember there were a
doesn't
couple of
matter.
times in cash games where I would call people with like ace high, and then they would just fold their hand, but they had like a small pair
Yeah,
because they wouldn't think that I would call them with ace high. So anyway, and I was obviously wasn't angle shooting or anything, but
no.
just always just be careful with your action.
Honestly, every time I see an angle shooter, my goal for the rest in a cash game, anyways, my goal for the rest of the day is to re-angle them or use their angle to make them lose money somehow. And even not even angle shooters, the people who chuck their hands away when you call their bluffs and they chuck their hand without second thought, oftentimes they're kind of they tend to
Yeah.
be of that breed, right? So one of my poker goals is to call with a hand that's just the board and have them chuck their hand away. Just find someone that just does that every time and just like snap call them sometime when I think they're bluffing with the board and just have them chuck their hand away. That's on my
Funny.
poker bingo card.
I still remember this hand in the cash game I played, and I don't think it was like really like that much of an angle shoot. But you know how some people just act like they're gonna call you, like they're ready to like put their chips in before you even
Oh,
bet.
yeah. There's a
Yeah.
couple
So
guys in the
basic,
tournament, right? Every single time it's to them, and you
yeah,
made a big bet, they make a big show of stacking all their
yeah,
chips before folding. Yeah,
right. So then, basically, what I did was I reached for like $200 in chips when I saw him do that, and then it was like art. In one motion, I went like in one motion, I grabbed like 300 more chips and threw the 500 in the pot instead of the 200, and he had 200 in his hand, and he was just like, "Oh shit!" And he had to call the full 500. It was really funny. I almost like reverse angle shot him for trying to, like. But that's the kind of like I don't know, like get back. That's kind of fun.
yeah. No, if I see somebody like if I absolutely see someone angle shoot someone else, especially if they're like, because I usually when I'm playing cash, I'm usually goofing off in a lower buy-in. So if I see like one of the Mizregs angle shoot someone who looks newer, I absolutely just they have
Yeah,
a glowing
I mean,
target on them.
yeah, when you do that to new players, man, that's just horrible. Just horrible sociopathic behavior.
Yeah, I'm all about jumping on that and trying to keep that
And
try and teach
you know,
them a little something.
even if it's not a new player, just angle shooting is just don't do
No,
it.
absolutely, absolutely. Angle shooting, like that's why I'm such a stickler for the rules, right? And I mean,
Yeah,
I've always been a gamer. I love rules. I think they should be honored, and angles have
yeah,
no place in the game. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, like if people ask you to see your hand when they were the ones who bet,
Hmm.
then that doesn't. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a thing.
No,
Just say no.
no, they have to show first, and if you
Yeah, they
don't
want
want
to
to
call the
show,
floor
it's
over, fine. Yeah.
yeah, and hopefully the floor isn't taking the lazy route. Yep.
I feel like at least at the bike and the Commerce, I get to see all the floor just be like, no, just he's not going to show you your hand and move on.
Yeah, I
Just
definitely
stupid.
could see that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So know your rights, people.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's the end of the agenda for the day. Let's move on and hit the roundup for the week. So we've already really covered what most of the events are, what the big events are for this weekend. So once again, just to reiterate, let's. All right, I don't have a good schedule to show you. Oh, I can. Okay. So here's the roundup for the week. This Friday, what we recommend if you have bagged for the mini mega, you're playing the mini mega on that day. That's day 2A. If you can afford to just jump right in, I think you should just jump right into the mini mega. That's day 2A.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you're not doing any of those, well, you can't beat a $25,000 added free roll over at
Yeah, it's
Commerce.
gonna be fun. It's gonna be
It's
just drinking and having
gonna
fun.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun. It's gonna be a ride. It's up in the ballroom. Let's go do that. Go for it.
Yeah.
If you want to play earlier in the day at the lower buy-in, all the dailies are happening. You still get over there to the gardens or to any of the other local places doing their dailies. Saturday, same thing at the bike. If you bagged and you wanted to play 2B, that's 2B. If you can buy in 2B, go for it. If you qualified for the gardens, go over there, play the satellites. Um, Play the satellites at 11. That's at 11. The I believe the mini mega day twos are 1 p.m. right? I believe that's 1 p.m. And
Usually
registration
noon. Is it one?
is it noon?
It would be nice if it's one, but I thought it was noon.
I think. Oh,
Usually noon.
I've got the schedule right here. You're right. It's 12 p.m. Registration
Yeah.
open until
Yeah.
I believe 2:20 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually they're noon.
Yep. So they're at noon. So that's what we recommend for that day. If you are not doing either of those and you want to do something smaller, the Commerce is running those $300 tournaments. No guarantees on those though. There's a bounty later in the day, and there is a regular one just at 2:30. Also, the dailies for every place else. Sunday, there are two 50K guarantees happening. $400 one at Commerce. That's probably where I will be, and then also the one at Hollywood Park. And the reason I'll be at Commerce is simply because Hollywood Park tends to run their Sunday specials 10-handed, and I am not about that. So both great tournaments. If you like 10-handed, if Hollywood Park's closer, go there. Otherwise, I will see you at Commerce on Sunday, unless I'm not able to negotiate that chop at the day 3 of the mini mega with Derek quickly enough.
Yeah. 10-handed is just painful for me.
Yep.
Always
So
avoid
that
10-handed back on.
Yep, that is what we recommend. That is what's going on this weekend. It's a very busy week for all levels and for everybody.
Yeah, this is a great time to be a tournament player. So many different options. So just get out there and play. But you know, if you're feeling a little bit tired, like I even just said this on Twitter this morning after Dan Grounder's tweet, is that I do play a lot better when I'm well rested, which is why I'm probably not firing any more day ones at the mega. I'm just gonna direct buy in day 2 on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely important to get your rest and to kind of come in fresh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all I've got. That's all we've got for you this week. Thanks for tuning in. And if you were here early, Wayne, I know you were there. Thanks for living through
Yep.
our little tech test there, little technical difficulties. Hopefully, we will work those out and we'll be able to get guests on here pretty soon. We are really looking forward into bringing in some more voices.
Yeah, thank you for joining us live and thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We could use more subscribers.
Yep.
Have a happy Halloween, even though it's already 11 p.m. obviously. But we will see you at the Mega Millions on Saturday and Friday if you're going to play.
Yep, absolutely. So good luck out there, and we will see you at the tables, guys.
See you at the tables.